Today we're having an old school video with a traditional hatchback. My name is Peter and this is the Mazda 3, which is really a classic recipe for the old school hatchback. Low to the ground, nice and small, compact car, easy to drive, and a manual gearbox, something we don't see every day either. I think it is quite nice. I like this kind of car. I said the same in the Toyota Corolla review, the classic station wagon in that video, but this is the classic hatchback. It's not a big car. It is a typical Mazda, as we'll see in a bit. And yeah, it looks nice, it feels good to drive, and it's overall a very nice car. Here in crystal blue, by the way, you can see the sparkling color here in the sun. Excellent color for this car. Very recognizable Mazda here in the front, with that big grille and the Mazda logo prominently in the middle. The typical Mazda lights on the sides as well. And it is actually the first Mazda we have on this channel, as far as my reviews go. So that's kind of cool. I like it. You can see here in the side profile that it is that classic hatchback shape. A little over 4 meters long, so not a big car, not very heavy, with just under 1500 kilos without me in it. So yeah, all around it's really, really nice. Here in the back you can also see the version recognizable with the two exhaust pipes. This is the 2-liter 186 horsepower version, and it is of course the E-Sky Active variety from Mazda. While we are back here, we'll have a look at the boot. Nothing to write home about, but you know, it's not a very large car. Easily enough space for a weekend away and even maybe a small family holiday, but pretty featureless as far as boots go. Under here we have some tire pressure kit and some emergency equipment, but you know, nothing else. All around pretty simplistic, but you know, this is a pretty straightforward car, so that is in line with the theme. All around this should be a good review because this is the manual version. It also comes in automatic, of course, and that should make it fun to drive maybe. We'll see as we start driving later. Let me know in the comments below, is this a car that still has a place these days, or should we just all move on to crossovers and mini SUVs in this category? I think it's nice. I like this sort of streamlined, low to the ground, streaming look of a car, and I think this one in particular is nice and stylish, especially in this color with the black wheels. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about that. Actually, a little tour through the cockpit of this Mazda 3, and the theme here is analog. Everything here is analog. There is no touchy surface whatsoever, not even the infotainment screen that we'll get to in a second. It's all buttons, it's all analog instrument cluster, it's all physical things to press. So on the one hand, that makes me super happy because it's just easier to press real buttons, no capacitive stuff, no swipey, touchy stuff. So that is just such a breath of fresh air, almost, old fresh air admittedly, to have this configuration of real buttons everywhere. But in all honesty, at the same time, as we'll see at the screen in a little bit, it also starts to feel slightly dated here and there. We'll get to that in a second. First, buttons on the left for the windows and the mirror control. Awesome. Buttons on the steering wheel for your system settings and your media and your cruise control on the right side. Also awesome. Great. What's even more great is a round steering wheel. Just, you know, a circle. No hexagon or rectangles or triangles or any other nonsense, just a circle. It's just so nice. No, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, literally. This is just fine. So that's cool. And again, the simple buttons on the steering wheel, real individual buttons that you know you pressed and you know are registered without having to look 3 times if your touchy swipey action has actually reached the system. Behind the steering wheel we have normal stalks for your wipers on the right and for your blinkers and lights on the left. Also very chunky, very analog. Excellent. Very good. Then we look through the steering wheel and we see analog dials with a rev counter, with a needle, with a speedometer, with a needle, and even an engine temperature and a fuel gauge with an actual needle. Fantastic. That is just what you want. It's so great, and it's so, again, almost old-fashioned refreshing to see that. There is some digital influences though. There's a few things you can put on the screen, especially in the middle of the speedo. And on either side of the speedo, there's also some extra information like your range and your fuel consumption and so on. But overall, it's just nice, very pleasant, super clear, doesn't require any setup nor explanation nor anything. That brings us to the central screen. that's not touchy at all. You can't do anything with touch on this screen. It is simply operated by a rotary dial here in the middle of the center console. So it has a few shortcut buttons for home, for your entertainment, for your navigation, and for back. And you just scroll through the menus. There's not even any option to sort of write letters on the rotary dial. You just have to go through the whole thing, which is fine. The system is fast enough to accommodate this kind of interface. But if you start clicking around a bit too fast, you see that the refreshing and the flipping through the pages is not exactly fast. That said, it's all fine, and the menus aren't that deep that you need to go through 50 pages and things to get to where you want to be. It's all text-based though, so you actually have to read what you're going through and which things you're scrolling through, which can be slightly counterintuitive. Usually it works a bit better on touchscreens, at least with an icon and text. But as far as that goes, the system is fine. Where it's not so fine is, for example, if we go to navigation and we want to put in a new destination, you click route. There we go. It takes a few seconds to load all the things, fine. But then you get to the carousel of letters where you then have to click through in order to put your destination in. And that's where you start to feel like, there's better ways. We've moved away from doing it this way. That said, there is a big difference between doing it stationary like we are now. Then it feels like it's a bit cumbersome. When you're doing it while driving, it is actually very relaxing almost to just drive, watch the road, and you have your elbow here on the center console and you're just scrolling through the menus and clicking and tapping where you need to be. So while driving, it's actually quite nice that you can keep your attention and you don't have to constantly, like with the undulations of the car, try to hit your touch targets. It's just all here and it's just fingertip action. So that's actually kind of nice. But yeah, I feel that there's a better blend between having everything fully analog and everything fully digital, where there's just a screen with no buttons at all. I think this is a bit too far to the analog side, and I think there could be a better blend where we can keep the buttons on the steering wheel, for example, and maybe make the infotainment screen slightly larger and more touch interface. So that is that for your consideration. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about that. Is this something that should make a comeback in all cars, that we should move away from those touchscreens, or is this, past from yesteryear and we need to move on? Something that we certainly don't need to move on is the Klima unit, which is, again, fully analog, so real rotary dials to turn for the temperature, real buttons to press for the fan speed. Excellent. That is what you want, combined with the manual ventilation openings. Awesome. Excellent. That is how we want it. Underneath, we have a charging pad that I have my sunglasses on now, 2 cup holders, and a manual gearbox in this case. There is an automatic available, but this press car has the manual option. All surrounded by very constantly dusty, smudgy, terrible piano black. I'm going to keep complaining about it in every video until it's out. I don't understand it. Why is this here? Why is this in the places where I'm constantly having my hands? It's the same here on the left around the buttons for the window and the mirror. Why there? Put it somewhere away where I'm not constantly touching. It is so smudgy all the time and it looks terrible. Then we have a few shortcuts around that rotary dial and also a physical volume button, and that is all your interface as far as this cabin goes. There's a big central armrest that can slide and also open, but only if you first slide. That has 2 USB-Cs, 12-volt socket and enough storage. But on the bottom of it, there is this little piece of felt. And if you take that out, you can just see the bolts. So that is moi. Bit of an afterthought. They could have put a little bit of glue or something on there. Not really nice, to be honest. So that is that. The seats are pretty basic but pretty comfortable. I have a rotary knob on the front for the part under my legs, and then a pump and a lever for the armrest, for the backrest, and for the height of the seat. So pretty simple, but I fit in the seats and they are firm on the firm side, but comfortable enough for this kind of car. And we have a panoramic roof, as you can see, because everything in here is extremely black, as you've probably noticed. And I think without that roof, it is not really possible to have a car this black without feeling claustrophobic, especially in the rear. Overall, it's actually quite nice. The size of the car obviously invites you for, you know, like nice driving. And it's a good position to feel at one with the car. I feel that I'm inside the car, not on the car. Good overview out, nice door mirrors, plenty of glass, even though the windows are not that big. It's like up here in the front, it's fine. Not any claustrophobic feelings. And it's a nice car to drive, I think, from this point of view. So obviously a little bit of driving in this Mazda 3. And obviously driving with a manual is quite a different experience on what we're used to. I think of all the reviews that I've done in the past year and a half, the number of manual cars I've driven is maybe 5 in total. So that shows how far we are moving away from that manual experience. And the manual experience is really that. It's an experience because obviously it brings you back. I mean, I've had my driver's license for the past 25 years already. And it gives you that sort of old school vibe of driving, especially in a car this shape and size. It's really involving for the driving experience. It always sounds a bit like a cliche, but there is a lot more to do with an automatic. Clutch pedal, feeling the revs, looking at your speed and matching those things up. Combined in this car with a relatively heavy steering feel. Most cars, especially electric cars, you know, you look at the steering wheel and it already turns for you. But in this car, there's quite a lot of action and input you have to put into the steering wheel before it actually does what you want it to do. And of course, by no means that means that it's some kind of a workout and some forearm exercises going on here. It is, you know, all very manageable, but especially when you're maneuvering at lower speed, it is apparent and very obvious that it is a heavy steering rack. And if you combine that with that manual action, there's a lot going on. You're doing a lot inside the car to make the car behave the way you want. And that's actually, in many ways, it's a lot of fun because it's pure driving, right? You're doing all the things. You're putting all the input into the car. And the car is just responding to what you're doing rather than the other way around, that the car basically does everything for you. But at the same time, it does also make you appreciate things like an automatic gearbox a lot, for example, because especially in traffic jams or low-speed city driving, when you're constantly clutching and changing gears and so on, it can also be a bit cumbersome. So, you know, there is something to be said for both ends of the spectrum. In general, if you like driving, you probably don't mind the manual, and obviously you get used to it very quickly, that you just use that as your day-to-day way of getting about. And it's, you know, it's a nice manual where you can really use the revs, get on the highway in second gear basically. So, you know, as far as that goes, it's quite enjoyable. But yeah, there's also a lot of circumstances where it's just nicer to have an automatic that just does the work for you. Here in a normal build-up area in and around the city where I live, perfectly fine to drive. It's not a big car, so it's easy to place. It's easy to put in parking slots. It's easy to put in parking garages, and despite the slightly heavier steering, it is a car that is, you know, easy to maneuver around. I got a good overview here over what I'm doing. The cockpit is nice and simple, like I showed you in the cockpit tour. This Mazda 3 comes in a whole bunch of flavors. I won't name them all for you, but I have the price list here, so let's go over a few things. This hatchback comes in 2 varieties. We have the 140 horsepower and the 186 horsepower that we are in. Both come with a manual or automatic, so there's 4 options there. For the 140, there is 6 trim levels, I kid you not. The Prime line, Center line, Exclusive line, Takumi line, Homura line and Nagisa line. So that's the amount of toys that you get. The cheapest one there starting at 33,640 euro, and the most expensive one is the Takumi line of the automatic version for 42,740. Then we move to the 186 horsepower that we are in, also manual and automatic. It has 5 trim levels: Center line, Exclusive line, Takumi, Homura and Nagisa line. The cheapest one being the Center line manual for 38,990, and the most expensive one for 44,740 euros is the Takumi of the automatic version. So there's quite a lot to choose there already. There's also a sedan version with the same powertrains and slightly fewer trim levels, but still the same as mentioned before. The very cheapest one is the 140, starting at 34,140 euro. The most expensive one is 45,240 euro for the Takumi line, 186 with the automatic option. So there is quite a lot to choose within this model alone. So, you know, you can make sure that you get the one that is just right for you. If you ask me, it's a bit much with all the trim levels. I think if you do half of the levels, it's more than enough. And you can probably even cut it down to a third. Quickly, the rear seats, obviously not the reason, or not the main reason at least, you buy this car, but you know, they have to be usable. And I fit behind myself. With my 1.83 m and 90 kilos, I am reasonably comfortable here, with some space for my feet and also a soft back of the driver's seat. It helps obviously that this is the manual option, so you have to use a clutch pedal with your left leg, meaning you sit a bit further forward than you would with an automatic. So that also gives me a bit of extra space. There is not that much space back here. It doesn't feel big because the panoramic roof stops all the way here. And this is some kind of hard foam. So it feels a bit cramped that way. And I'm also actually touching the roof with my head. So anybody taller than 1.83 m will not fit back here. It's also quite featureless. I don't even have a seat pocket in front of me with the driver's seat. But strangely enough, the passenger seat does have a seat pocket. There's no air conditioning control, there's nothing really going on here. The only thing I have is a button for the window. So that's it. And the windows are quite small, so there's not that much light coming in from the sides. The rear window is not that big as well. So, you know, all the information has to come from the front, all the light has to come from the front. And that is really only in the middle of the car because, yeah, looking to the left of the driver's seat, I can't move my head that far. And the seat also obstructs my view quite a bit, especially the headrest. So, you know, it's not ideal. It's certainly possible to transport adults back here for a short journey, but I'm not going to transport myself here for fun, for longer journeys, that's for sure. We do have some mistakes though. We have the Isofix cover, which is a loose flap, which is completely unacceptable. And this is clearly designed by somebody without kids, because this will fly away and you'll never see it again. Not good, Mazda. This has to be better. And we do have some armrests though, without a ski hatch, so skis don't fit in the boot to begin with, but if you want to transport anything long, you have to put the seats down. The armrest itself is fine, fabric and nice and soft. Cup holders are not adjustable, there's a little bit of a rubber flap, but that's it. And the cup holders are permanently open, so you'll always be in there with your hand or wrist. So that is not optimal either, but the materials and everything else back here is fine, it's the same as in the front. So as far as that goes, it is pleasant. But yeah, space-wise, it feels a bit cramped, at least for somebody my size, even though for a short journey it is all possible. So driving here on the highway, it is a very similar experience as far as the driving goes as to the city driving. So there's still a lot of input required from you to get the car to do something. That goes for the steering. It's not like annoyingly heavy by any stretch of the imagination, but you do have to deliberately move the steering wheel in order to get the car to move. It's not that vague, super light, overly complicated, artificial feel that you get in some EVs. And it also goes for the powertrain, especially in this manual configuration. So we're currently doing 96 and we're doing not even 2000 revs per minute. And if I fully floor it, 103, 108, 112, 120, not much happens really. So, you know, if you want to go for an overtake spontaneously or, you know, pass a few people to get to the exit, you do have to plan ahead a little bit and start thinking about what you want to do with your gearbox. Because if we do the same now, I'll give a bit of distance. So we're doing 102, third gear, 4,500. 115, 25, 20, 35, and 140. So, you know, when you want to do overtaking or when you want to go for like a gap in traffic or something, it does require thinking and input just like it does while you're driving in the city. And that is something that you have to appreciate, of course, and like, and otherwise you obviously have to choose the automatic gearbox configuration. Power-wise, it's quite nice to have the almost 190 horsepower engine. I think the 145 horsepower will probably give you 85% of the experience, but it's nice to have that little bit of extra power, especially in a car that is relatively light like this one. And it just makes the driving very pleasant all around, once you get the correct gear at the correct time, of course. Sitting here, it is actually quite refreshing to have a relatively calm and simplistic layout in front of me. I've said it in the reviews of the Teslas in particular, but it's basically all modern cars with the giant screens in the middle. They constantly suck in your attention and take the attention away from the road. And the same goes for the overly full driver displays. Here it's nice and simple. The screen in the middle is small and does basically one thing at a time, not distracting me. The clocks in front of me are clear, simple and calm as well. And the head-up display is the same. It's again simple and basic information. So it's not like it's low tech or anything. It's just very calming, deliberate things in front of me that don't distract from the driving experience overall. So that's actually quite nice and quite refreshing. You know, when I drive so many cars with those big screens where it's like, how many screens would you like? Would you like to watch Netflix right now? And you're like, oh, okay. So, you know, it's nice to have that sort of almost analog feel of the car and that philosophy that Mazda puts into the setup here in the cockpit. The driving itself is great. The car is quiet. Like I said, we're doing just over 100 now and just over 2,000 revs. So it's, you know, relaxing to drive. It's not droning or anything. The engine's quiet, also at higher speed. And it's actually quite nice that this car is a size that fits into city driving really well, because it's relatively small, easy to park, easy to see out of, but also feels at home here on the highway doing some bigger speeds and covering some distance. This is a size I can imagine that you take this car on holiday, on a car holiday, maybe not with two old, tall kids in the back, but you know, with one kid or just you and a partner. It's a car that you can also just, you know, drive to France and have a good time doing so. The seats are comfortable enough for that. You can obviously go for the more luxurious trims where you get leather and some other toys. Fine, but you know, for normal distance driving, these seats are fine. I think I fit in them. They are on the harsher side, but overall it is quite okay. And that goes for the entire cabin. It's calm, it's functional, it's pleasant to touch, it's pleasant to sit in. So all around, I think that is well done. After a week with this Mazda 3, do I think this is the one to get? Well, if you are into hatchbacks, then this is certainly a good option. I think this is a very stylish car from Mazda. And if you like this sort of classic traditional hatchback shape, it is certainly one to consider. In this spec, the exclusive line, it's not cheap at 41,000 euros. Considering you can already start at 33,000 with this Mazda 3, there is a lot of price range that you can play with according to your budget. If you look at the competition, Ford Focus starts just over 31,000, I think, here in the Netherlands. Volkswagen Golf starts around 36,000. So, you know, there's a lot to choose for that kind of money. And Mazda is a brand that, you know, you have to like. There is some typical things on the inside and the outside that are typical Mazda. And I think that has to speak to you in a way that, you know, a car needs to convince you and it needs to fit what you like. I think the analog approach on the inside is certainly something to think about and something to like. It's refreshing to see that kind of direction that Mazda is taking, at least with this one. And I think overall it is a compelling package. That's all I got for you in this video. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Support us on Patreon. I'll put the link down below if you want to support the channel and get some exclusive insights. And of course, a sub to the channel is always appreciated. For now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers!